What's up, you guys? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is AJ, and this is the DigiDollar Awareness Space. What an incredible weekend. New York Knicks are the 2026 NBA champions. What's up, you guys? We're going to hang out, wait for a couple more people to join. Today, we have Johnny Ransell. Thank you for everything you've done in the background this weekend. It was awesome. What's up, Johnny? How you doing? How's that little morning Sunday?
43 years it took the Knicks to return, so that's good. I'm happy for them.
It was 53, but who's counting, right?
What's a decade, right?
Yeah. Hey, so we're waiting for a couple people to join, but the space is recorded. I figured since you're already on here, I'd give you a question. If you don't mind, just kind of giving me a better understanding on how you're keeping up with the tracking on I guess all these exchanges, and I guess if you want to touch on, I think this space is pretty safe. We haven't been getting any shadow banning or anything like that, but would love to basically get a little chat on the Binance cold storage address that you've been tracking. That I think you mentioned it was active, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you guys, I'm hosting this from my phone. I'm doing 1,000 things on my poor PC, but yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, no, I just posted an update, and I don't write that update any longer. That update is all generated by Enigma itself. And so now you can pretty much go and just paste any address you want in there if you think it's exchange related or if you have a question about it. And it'll give you a narrative based on the best available information. So that particular address I tagged over, I don't know, at inception, which I think was over a year and a half ago, as a Binance cold storage address. And it's proving to be just that, based on it moving funds back into the global hot wallet, and then those immediately being processed out. So it's clearly transferring liquidity back in the global hot wallet to be distributed. So it makes it easy to understand that, yes, that was indeed the Binance cold storage wallet. But ultimately, there are many, right? So I think I shared with you, and I've shared on spaces like this, that Binance maintains the largest infrastructure in terms of address infrastructure and storage mechanisms of any exchange on planet Earth. And more specifically with Digibyte, they have upwards of, 20,000 addresses. So they have a very wide network. They have a very sophisticated system by which they are the central clearinghouse pretty much for all of crypto. I just happened to track it on Digibyte because that's how I got started.
Now, and I guess my question would be, right, like, I know you and I have spoken on this, on what the thesis could be, but for the audience and for the people that come in and chime, if you want to, I guess, share what what our conspiracy around them is, if I should word it like that or not, or as to why would they be moving this in this manner, right? Like, and why are these old cold wallets that usually don't get touched, all of a sudden just having any type of movement? Is that something that would be only as a benefit of them, or is just like serious psychological level manipulation?
Oh yeah, well, it's long been a manipulative effort, but also some obfuscation. And it's not necessarily, again, just about Digibyte here. It's just how they started, and it's how they built their mechanism in terms of flowing coins through the entire ecosystem. And again, I would just encourage anyone listening to understand that although it's not unique to Digibyte, it definitely started with Digibyte. They built a laundering as a service mechanism by which they can clean the history of all coins, so all proof of work UTXOs. And so this is a pretty common practice that they have. They cycle these coins over and over through lots of different hot wallets of different exchanges, but they always round trip eventually. Some of those round trips take up to 2-3 years. But they always round trip back to Binance. And again, that's not specific to Digibyte. That's just how it works. And the reason they do it is because you need to think of these hot wallets essentially like big black boxes. So you can send stolen coins into them through faked KYC accounts, mix them with millions of other users, and then come out the other side and fake withdrawals, do some fracturing, consolidation loops, head to another exchange, get it withdrawn from there for some more fake accounts, come back to Binance with a history that is squeaky clean. Again, that's not specific to Digibyte. That's just specific to how they built this machine to clean all proof of work UTXOs. And they need retail users, I guess is what I would tell you. There has to be real people in the mix. Otherwise it becomes painfully obvious just how many of these accounts they spoofed. But that's why we see all the round trips between these exchanges, and some of the whale alerts, people get a little bit antsy about them. But for the most part, you're just seeing that liquidity move back and forth between these exchanges. It's a mechanism. It's not even specific to an event. It's just how it works. The coins are always moving. It's the world's largest shell game. And again, I tell people it's not specific to Digibyte, but we are the best at it because of how fast and efficient our network is. And what I mean by that is we can move more money faster than anyone else. And there's if you want to hear the real conspiracy side of it, there's a little voice inside my head that says they use the network itself for something completely different. And that would be
I'm curious, share it.
Yeah, that would be to actually be the coordination layer behind all other market, quote unquote, market movements. Because embedded in a lot of these transactions and different, what I call state addresses, essentially you'll find different encrypted information in the op returns. And so this layer one protocol, which is at its basis a decentralized and permissionless communication protocol, is actually carrying information for a layer two machine. So instead of sending emails or being on a conference call about here's what we're going to do at this time and some sort of actual, recorded trail of evidence, it's just sending data encrypted inside the actual network itself, being read by these other exchanges to coordinate efforts, whether it's the exchanges themselves or the market makers. I believe it carries some sort of communication protocol that is kind of key in everything. But in order to do that, Digibyte doesn't actually have to be worth anything to them. They just move coins around and carry data around, not only in the op returns, but in the actual values of the transactions that they move.
Now, if you help me understand, like what internally would that, like what do you think their end goal is actually by doing this, right? Like, it's great to, have them, well, it's not great, right? Like, the movement shows there, right? It's like, I guess their optics, but like, what would be their end goal with doing this, dude? Like, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't make sense to me.
It's like a humiliation ritual as far as I'm concerned, right? After Jared sort of exposed how sordid the entire ecosystem and industry was, both him being CZ and Justin Sun, Jared rightly stood up to what he believed was unethical behavior, right? And people that would talk about decentralization but really just bastardize the whole protocol and the whole point of Bitcoin, which is what they've done unequivocally. You look back now with all the evidence that we have, and Jared was 100% right to call them out on it, right? And so that's centered around his project, right? And so we saw both Poloniex, Justin Sun, essentially damaged the community by confiscating a couple 100 million Digibyte from users by shutting down withdrawals within the span of a couple of weeks, without any sort of there's no means for the community to claw any of that back. And then we see Binance, who was building on the Digibyte network. I can track back the addresses and tell you unequivocally they were building their machine, their network of addresses before they listed Digibyte. And I think they had specific intention with how they were going to use it and what the plan was going to be.
And those are the same coins that we see now in circulation too, right? Even though they had stopped it, those are the same old coins that we're actively seeing move, right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, those coins. So you have to understand, dude, like the liquid coins in the market will, on average, and I've got the numbers somewhere, but they'll move about 4 times. So they'll recycle about 4 times every year. That's how many coins are just moving around in circles at all times. So when people look at like the exchange addresses I post, and they're like, well, this many coins have moved off of this exchange or this exchange, and I'm just like, well, yeah, but I wasn't updating in real time, which is what I'm building out now, right? So I'm building out something now that will actually update to the new addresses, because they rotate to new addresses quite frequently too, right? So not long ago there was like Digibyte Awareness Team posted it, somebody else posted it, but somebody like moved like 90 million Digibyte off of, Binance hot wallet. And they were like, oh, look, somebody's like stacking hard. And I'm like, give me a break. Like, this has happened time and time and time again. If you follow and you track those addresses over time, what you'll find is eventually they'll fracture out and then they'll consolidate back through. They might pass through another exchange, and then they'll all pretty much end up back on Binance over and over again. We've seen it. So I kind of, just try to steer people away from it, which is why I'm building out like what I am now, which will, actually start to automatically add, some of those new addresses. Now there'll be potential addresses, until, that circle is complete. So unfortunately, until I know and they start moving the funds back into other associated and proven addresses, I won't be able to tag them completely, but I'll have a new category on there that basically says, like a confidence rating as to who owns this address.
Now, when as a Digibyte or a Digiscope user myself, if I were to trace wallets, is this is there history on just my behalf, or is this something that Enigma logs and is able to share with anybody else that starts to track? Like, let's say if I were to track an address that starts to become a famous address with everybody else, is this something that it collects and spreads the information to everybody equally, or is it completely different based on how you start the wallet tracking?
Yeah, no. So it will, if you choose to submit it, right? So there's a couple of places in there that you can ask for additional information about an address or something like that, or if you wanted to track or trace something. Now, those track and trace tools aren't immediately going into the submissions. So they're not, populating like an actual submission. But if you went into the transaction / address submissions and you put in here that you believe that this particular address or this particular transaction, then Enigma is actually going to evaluate it. So, and it's going to go into a pipeline. And in many cases, the first time something, if it's new address, a new transaction type or whatever, from a unproven location, it's basically just going to rate it as not solid, right? And most likely I'll reject it, but it will stay inside as context, so that if a third party, or if there's a frequency amongst a group of people, it can be any amount of time, tagging a specific address and saying, here's my transactional proof, then the confidence rating is going to go up and then it'll essentially reevaluate for inclusion. So it's complicated, but it'll, like I said, it is the first of its kind. Nobody, and I mean nobody, no Glassnode, no Cypherblade, none of these Chainalysis type, Ignio, GraphSense, none of these protocols operate any way, shape, or form like this.
Now, later on, right, when the Digibyte community starts to lock for DigiDollar, what would be the shock on, I guess, for these transactions on the exchanges, right? Like, do you think that this would be something that they would continue to do after locks start to come in, even if we're just doing 30-day locks, or is it something that you see maybe them kind of just starting to do a locking mechanism type of manipulation? I don't even know if that's possible for them to manipulate us while they lock, right? Like, but
I don't expect any of them at the exchange level to lock. I truly don't. But what I would expect is the community at large, we'd be giving them a reason to move off the exchange, to learn self-custody, to pull those coins off the exchange, to have access to additional value while still being a holder of the coin. So I see potentially there is a force there that would actually cause people to have reason to pull their coins off exchange, because right now a lot of folks don't want to spend the Digibyte that they've bought in any way because they truly believe that they're undervalued. I have that same belief, right? So why would I spend 10 cents on something I believe is worth $1, and now I'm going to pull it out of an exchange and spend it at a quarter of a penny? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. But if I'm going to pull it out so that I can use it to create value that I can then turn around and perhaps use on the marketplace to capture additional value, then yeah, I might do that, right? So I think it is a narrative that could potentially push folks to self-custody.
And I know I'm like, this is probably kind of jumping all over the place to try to stay on task, but I think
You're good,
another
man.
question.
You know me. I'm streaming consciousness. You know what I mean? I'm literally looking at like 4 different sessions here, balancing between them. But
So one of the questions that I had is, I have really good talks with Session, and they're, we've come close. It's a private messaging app, and I know you and I spoke about this earlier this year, where it would be something in the further future for us to create something like Session. But I was wondering, like, what are the possibilities of maybe having an integration with them, or is that something that your current wallet that you're working on, is DTSP going to be a thing there? Do you believe that people will transact informational messages through DTSP through your new wallet, or is it something that maybe makes more sense to basically integrate with somebody else or future build it?
yeah, I think right now I just was basically trying to drive sort of Reddit and Discord like functionality into the wallet and into Digiscope itself, and then the two of them are linked together, right? So as you log in to Digiscope from your mobile wallet, you can be on the mobile app and in the chat or in the forums or whatever, or you can, use DigiID to log into the website and be on, and it's the same account and has all the same chat and forum capability, all that sort of stuff. So right now I'm kind of focused in on driving that because, you and I talked about the whole community aspect of discussing proposals and being able to share ideas and have something that persists from day to day, right? So it's not just something, an idea that pops up on Twitter, 6 months ago, that was a great idea and we kind of forgot and it didn't get roadmapped and all that sort of stuff. So the ability to plan long-term, and set short-term achievables, recognize performance, set those bounties, all that sort of stuff, bringing all that together into a communication platform that would help us organize, right? So currently I don't have anything beyond that on the roadmap, just because I know that aspect is going to take a significant amount of effort to make those meld properly, and it works right now in a very basic sense, but you'll see the UI is really clunky, but it's because I'm trying to develop both at the same time together as one cohesive idea, rather than making the website amazing or making the mobile amazing, just trying to actually make it persist as one experience, whether you're on the mobile app or you're on the website itself.
And now last week, I had someone ask, I wasn't able to explain really, but they were asking, how is it possible to, I guess, hold your node in the mobile wallet? I know you did something with Bloom filters, but if you want to basically elaborate on, how you made that happen, where it's like a mobile node, but it's, in the cloud, right? If I'm explaining that right?
So there's two different wallets actually. So we're talking two different things. Which can be confusing because, ultimately, I've shared them without necessarily creating, different conversations, right? So there's Digimobile. So Digimobile is a full, core wallet, that's wrapped in an Android. It's got an Android wrapper, right? So it's actually, built so that you can run a pruned, that is to say, not a full index history of the blockchain, but a pruned node. So you're only, in this case, carrying. You can choose how big of or how big a section of that blockchain data you want to carry, but I've got it set at like 4 to 6 gigabyte of history that is constantly rotated to the newest block, but you can choose how that works. And that's not really a wallet at all. That's just a node. And what I mean by that is I'm not encouraging folks to use that as their wallet. If they want to run a mobile node, and they want to have it on an Android device, and they want to broadcast transactions through it, and they want to mine through a block template on it, all that sort of stuff, they can do that. But because of my inability to properly secure that wrapper aspect of that node, and everything that has to happen for that node to be able to reach out and talk to peers, because I can't change core at all. So the core stays exactly the same as if you were using it on, Linux or Windows or Apple device, whatever the case might be. I'm wrapping it in an Android wrapper and making it easy to operate. So it truly would be there just to be running a mobile node, not as a wallet. Now you could use it as a wallet. I just don't recommend it, because there's many different and better ways to have a mobile wallet. So, and then there's the mobile wallet. So then that would be the actual Android Digibyte wallet. So that is essentially a clean sheet design of what we used to have, which was a Bloom filter, direct connect to peer network, Android and Apple wallet. So, I didn't start with Bloom filters in mind, but that's how we started working, the connectivity, which was the earliest form of a mobile, connection to the peer network. And it requires having other nodes that are running Bloom filters that it can connect to, which it does. But then we added compact block filters, which is a much better way of connecting to your peer group, and listening for the addresses that you're interested in, rather than broadcasting what address you're listening for. So it's more privacy front and forward. And so the mobile, the Digibyte wallet does both. So the default is compact block filters. The fail-safe is Bloom filters. As we transition to 9.26, I am working on essentially a core wallet configurator that will help people decide all of the different flags that need to be put into the core wallet configuration, because there are many. And the point of that would be, if you're just a general user and you want to use it to store your funds, but you're concerned about your privacy and you don't really want to connect to peers and you don't want to take up too much of your bandwidth, all of those things can be configured in the configuration tool before you launch the core wallet. But if you're an institutional user and you want to support, DigiDollar, and you want to have all the indexes turned on, and you're going to run a Electrum server, and like there's things that you need to do in the configuration to be prepared for that. So inside that will be the compact block filters, turning those on so that there's more peers for the mobile wallet to connect to. More peers is always good because that's more stable connections, right? So that's kind of how that's evolving. So it's two very different ideas. One is really just to support the network. If you want to broadcast through that node, you can, but it's not going to be your wallet. If you want to mine to that node, you can, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's not going to actually hold your coins for you. And then the other is an actual functional wallet that's going to try to protect your privacy on the go so much as possible. And it's not going to rely on any central point of failure. So if you open Coinami today, and for those of you who use Coinami, you've probably experienced when you open Coinami, sometimes it's red and stays red, and that's because the Electrum server for Digibyte, so their node for Digibyte, the connection goes down for whatever reason, and they don't notice until like somebody kind of pokes them in the side and say, hey, turn that back on, you know what I mean? And they do, and then it starts handling requests again. And sometimes there's a delay, and you guys have seen this whenever you're logging on to DigiID or whatever. If that connection is not fresh and you go to log on from Coinami, it won't transmit your cryptographic signature. So that can create delays and problems, right? Because it's going through a central sort of server, right? So if that server's down, the wallet's not compromised, but it's not functional because the wallet itself is not connecting to other peers at all. It's connecting to the peers through that server. So there's a central point of failure. My design is for none of that to even be possible because we're going to connect to peers. So we're always going to be searching for the peer network that will keep us from ever having to be reliant on somebody else turning their computer on, if that makes sense.
Now, and you mentioned the mobile node holds 4 to 6 gigabytes of the blockchain, correct?
Correct.
Now, is there a scenario where if I needed to go back and for whatever reason I have to go through the mobile node and look at older blocks for older transactions, is that something that could be done, or is it pretty much capped at whatever was left there and you'd have to go to Digibyte Core Wallet and pretty much go through that way?
Yeah, the options are there to make that snapshot as big as you want for the most part, right? So it just comes down to how much storage you have. How, if you're on like an 8-core processor, whatever the case might be, that's all that really matters. But you wouldn't be able to necessarily go back and look at specific block information and confirm it with your block data if it's not there. So when it's on the 4 gig or 6 gig or whatever, it's a rotating. So it's always adding the newest confirmed blocks and dropping the old ones essentially. So you wouldn't be able to go back, way far in history, but we have other blockchain explorers, for that. That's always maintaining, the full history Digibyte, which very few projects anymore can say.
And I know we spoke about this in the background, but is there, and I know that you're working behind it, but is there a real reason nowadays to really pay for, to have your mobile wallet hosted up on the App Store? Or do you think it would be better for us as a community and just, right, like the crypto space in general, just to just stick to GitHub? I get that there's like, for a lot of people, there'll be a little bit of a learning curve, right? But like, would that be a little bit more beneficial than basically having someone like yourself, put up the back end to host this on an app?
Yeah, no, my intention always was to post in both places. My hope is that it won't get censored. Um, that's the bigger challenge I think ahead that we'll see, right? Because every time they change, the financial action task force and the AML, and every time they change the rules, they tighten down more and more and more on self custody wallets. And so I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I think at some point they're definitely going to want to force KYC into any crypto wallet. And at that point, then of course, nothing that I would design would ever make it to any of the Play stores or the app stores. So they would have to find it alternatively, right? And then ultimately, I think you'll see them go after GitHub too, at some point, which we've already kind of seen, like they're KYCing kind of GitHub even now in different aspects. And then when you see about like AI requiring KYC to have access to certain protocols, and wanting to censor specific regions and all sorts of stuff. I think that's the route everyone is going right now. And so I think it'll get harder over time to have any sort of software that protects individual sovereignty and freedom and privacy and all that sort of stuff. I think it'll be harder and harder for it to make it to public platforms. So I think it's good now to just sort of train people that you're not going to find this. You're going to find things that help you maintain your sense of financial sovereignty on the Google Play Store. Like, that's not going to happen. We're going to have to train folks to move a little differently.
So another thing that I was gonna ask. So as far as like us having that suppression and basically everybody asking for a KYC, well, it's a little concerning on my behalf, right? Because like, will there ever be a case where that might happen with our Digibyte Core wallet, where that starts to affect us there?
So I would be concerned about anything that you would, if you have the exchange, or sorry, let me gather my thoughts here. Got excited. If your wallet has any ties to an exchange, that's going to be enough of a concern. So like if you transferred from crypto.com to your core wallet, there's going to be a record of that transaction. Somebody may be asking you to either account for, or they might say, they're going to know that account has attachment to your affiliation with you in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know about anybody else. I'm not, once again, trying to choose words carefully. Personally, I have a separate wallet just for mining, so that the mining, that's all,
Clean.
yeah, that's all, secret and by itself or whatever. That's all virgin coins attached to a wallet that has no attached to an exchange. So at the very least, those coins should be safer than some of the other ones. Like I said, I see it as a point where someone's gonna, just like they have those reporting rules now where you have to report your crypto and all that stuff, it's gonna be the same thing. It's just gonna be a transaction you're gonna have to account for, in my mind.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get worse than that, but that's where I think it's gonna go.
Yeah,
So
no, I
yeah,
think
something to
that's,
think about. Like I said, if you're using exchanges to transfer things around, once you transfer it, there's a tie to that exchange wallet. So if you need to be a little more creative if you want to have a wallet that doesn't appear
yeah.
attached to any certain individual.
And ultimately, though I'm not going to speak in detail, um, creating a workaround for it. So there's many different ways to do it. So, but you're absolutely right. And that will continue to be the case. And I think anytime that you go back to, anytime you go back to an exchange, you're going to have to say where they came from. So
Oh yeah,
if they
good
don't,
point. Vice versa, same thing. If you move it onto an exchange, you're right. Same thing. It's gonna trigger a taxable event or question.
yeah. And then ultimately that's where I love DigiDollar, right? Because, if we're truly in progress into decentralized exchanges, and true decentralized finance, with coins, which DigiDollar truly would be. It's an inscription like the pay to taproot. I'm generalizing here, but it is still part of a protocol that can't be censored. There is no Liechtenstein protocol in which you can freeze tokens, you can reverse transactions. It's both scary, but it's also wonderful because again, it protects us, and truly maintains that permissionless, decentralized, censorship resistant protocol, that Satoshi, created, so that we could extract ourselves from a world in which all outcomes are decided by the people that print money.
Hi, Johnny. This is Anthony. I intercede here because I'm not a doom and gloom kind of guy.
That's
And
good.
this is why part of the reason,
Neither am I.
I've tried to release this thing so people can make that argument.
Hey,
Can
Anthony, I
never
think
have
you're
KYC.
chopping up. Welcome,
Oh, yeah?
welcome to the DigiDollar Awareness Space, Anthony. I think you having a little bit of connectivity issues. You're a little choppy. But yeah, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm the only one that's hearing it like that, but you're coming in a little choppy. But welcome to the space, dude. And I'm sure we also have a lot of questions for you too. You have a protocol out there that
Oh
has
yeah,
been
lots
trending
of
heavily.
questions.
Yeah, yeah. So today's gonna be awesome, dude. Thank you guys for joining the space. But yeah, Anthony, if you want to just double check your connectivity or the mic situation, because I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of questions coming your way.
All right. I'm on Wi-Fi right now. Hopefully, you could hear me.
Yeah.
Yep, you sound much better, dude. Way better. Yep.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to briefly state that the whole reason I'm putting some software out there so that people can print up thousands of wallets and put them on stickers, put them on everything. You could put them pretty much next to everybody's mailbox. You could do whatever you want with these. These will never be in KYC. People can trade these. People can, do you understand? You could do whatever you want. Sure, there'll be regulations, but they're only limited to what's on your phone. If you have something printed, if you have wallets out there that people can trade, that people can, use like money, pretty much, you can't be stopped by KYC. So that's kind of, I'm trying to provide these things so that it'll make it easy for people to create wallets and physically trade them if they wanted to. Anyway, just my
So
2 cents there.
So for people that aren't really like in tune with, if you don't mind, like kind of elaborating a little bit more what the ideal is, we went a little brief, but for those that are more on the newbie side, if you want to kind of explain more on what Digibyte Click is, that'd be great, dude.
All right. Digibyte Click or dgbclick.com is a real basic website with 3 tools on it. I'm probably going to expand it to include, ticketing and doing all sorts of things so that people with businesses, can provide tickets to others and have them be used to, enter into entertainment centers, cinema, sports, whatever, all for free, just as long as they create these. And I'll probably have to set up an account system. But other than that, as long as we could make people use Digibyte, and these QR codes so that they are easily accessible and used for a lot of products and as tickets to verify things, I think it allow people to understand how to use them. I think the biggest challenge is seeing how newbies and Gen Zs, Gen Ys, well, maybe not them too much, but maybe Gen X's to try and understand how to use wallets in different situations. Sure, you could have funds there like Digibyte, but you could also use them as tools. You could send a QR code and people can send you money through it. Right now I put them on my products and they're just basic wallets. The public key and the private key. And those are there so that people interested can fool around, get a wallet, see what that's all about, transfer Digibyte, swipe Digibyte. It's just, right now it's just an interesting little thing that's on pretty much all my products. However, let me get back to DigibyteClick.com or DigibyClick.com. So it's 3 tools. One tool basically generates lots and lots of wallets. I tested it with 1,000 wallets. It generated a file, gave me public and private keys. The second tool is a payments tool where you could import that same file and send all those 1,000 wallets to Digibyte. So now you have 1,000 wallets with a bunch of Digibyte that you could send to people. And the last tool is a sweep tool where you could, of course, use the same file and you could sweep all those wallets back into one main wallet. And that generally is because, people make mistakes. We have to sweep all these wallets back. Or in the future, it could be used like, hey, for the next 30, 40, 60 days, here's a wallet with redeemable Digibyte or redeemable DigiDollar. And then at the end of those days, anybody who hasn't swiped anything, well, the business would probably say, okay, time's up. We'll get all our DigiDollars back and we'll run another promotion, I don't know, in another 30 days.
So how would you mitigate a rug, right? Because I'm sure that's been on your mind too, right? Like it's great to, sweep all 1,000 wallets, but for people out there that are malicious, which we know we are, or not we, but we know that there is, I guess what kind of preventive, right? It's up to the consumer, obviously, but is there any preventive issue that you're doing in a scenario like, say, this were to be used in a giant pamphlet idea, you get it pushed out there, everybody has 10 Digibyte, and then all of a sudden, whatever the company decided to do, nobody actually grabbed the Digibyte, just got swept. Like, what levels of protection are you offering there as far as the consumer wise and also the business side?
Now that's a great question. Obviously, only the business would have the full file. And if the business decides to do the swipe, the consumer is going to be pissed. They're going to be like, what the fuck? We're never going to do business with these people again. So it is up to the business to secure all these keys and provide the actual Digibyte to the consumers. And this is, we're not building on Like, hey, I'm going to send out free money and be all commie and stuff and think, hey, these digi wallets are going to exist forever. No, these are temporary. So what we do is we let the business know, hey, these are temporary. And when you create something, me, the creator, I have no access to it. So if the consumer is going to be pissed, they're going to be pissed at the business, and the business needs to secure their data. So I'm providing a tool, but the business needs to secure who creates these and how they send them out into the world, right? I can't be involved into that because it's, that's now a consulting job that I'd need to charge for on how to best, deal with that. But I'm going to take a step back for now and say, look, this is a business tool. Businesses need to deal with this. Sure, if you get some very popular X account, for example, and they decide to sweep everybody because they created some sort of redeemable thing, and they tell everybody these wallets are permanent, which they're not. Nobody should ever use those wallets for any as their own for any permanent things. They're temporary. So that's what I would tell these. These are temporary wallets. People could use them. But if a business creates these, the business needs to make sure that their security is top notch. Because if they're not, and one of their employees takes these wallets and swipes everything, that's on the business. So there is that issue. But like everything else, whoever the business is needs to understand that, going in. But this is like any other thing in the business world. You try to give things to everybody, and we see what the consumer looks at. We see if they respond, and depending upon what they like, and if it benefits the business, then we keep on progressing. Now, a lot of people don't like KYC, and this is my main issue here. If you're a business, then these wallets are temporary. If you're a anarchist and want these wallets everywhere, then you have to be careful, because the anarchist might be an evil guy. They might convince tons of people to use them. And in the end, they'll swipe everything up. So just like anything else, you have to analyze who you're doing business with and understand the risk. So I personally would not give any money or funds or anything to, a cute X account that just pops into my chats and starts talking me up. Nobody would do that. So the same deal with anything else. If you have an account that's, giving you a lot of fantasy and dreams, too good to be true, and they're not an established business, buyer beware. So I think this is kind of like a normal thing. I don't think this is rocket science.
Yeah, I agree with that. And forgive me, I'm not that tech savvy, but is this not something that's already readily available that could be done on the Digibyte Core wallet, right? It would be probably more of a headache. But isn't a sweep, and maybe Johnny can come in, I'm not sure, but is a sweep possible on the Digibyte Core wallet if you were to implement this also? And then after Digibyte Daily, if you want to go ahead and shoot your question. My bad, but I see you with your hand up.
So no, not within the current tools that exist within the core wallet. However, you can build a transaction script that exists outside the wallet, broadcast through the wallet, and then reverse bring things back. So yeah, you can use the core wallet for that function, which I'm assuming is kind of what Anthony's done here, which is good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yes, I was, in my business, I was initially wanting somebody a few years back to do this for me. And it was very difficult to find anybody. Nobody raised their hand. So I had to do it myself. And basically my whole business thing was, all right, I'm going to put out a bunch of wallets on my products. And every once in a while, I'll do some sort of raffle. I put some Digibyte out there, random wallets, see who responds. And if nobody responds by a certain time, 6 months or a year down the line, then I'll sweep the wallets back. And since I manufacture thousands of products, I needed something that could sweep thousands of QR codes or private keys. So now that I do have these 3 tools, I made them free for anybody who wanted to fool around at the dgbclick.com site.
That's awesome. I think one of the things we talked about on one of my first spaces here was ideas for trying to get people into it, how to get Digibyte to people, and this potentially solves one of those issues majorly, along with the sweep. I think you answered a lot of my questions. I did want to add a couple things since I've been playing around with the tool. It looks like the tool works offline. I wanted to point that out so that's a security feature I'd consider. Making sure you point out to people that it looks like that wallet generator, at least while I've read it, I haven't used it. It did make a note that you should be offline while you're doing it. So that's all good. It looks like you can do all that, create the CSV file and all that offline. Perfect. That's excellent. So when you said the wallets are temporary, I just wanted to clarify, and I think the question was answered. I just wanted to be specific on my answering or my asking this in case anyone else was not as clear as me, or make it clear so that no one makes a stupid mistake. The wallets are temporary in that they can be swept by the creator. They're not temporary in that they don't last a certain period of time. Is that correct in stating that?
Absolutely correct. Like, I can print up, 50,000 of these wallets, make stickers out of them, go to each gas station across the nation, just start sticking them to the pumps, saying, hey, this is a DigiWallet, use at your own risk. And later, just toss the CSV file in the trash, and anybody other than myself would be able to use everything. Of course, if I were malevolent, I would probably keep the CSV file. And that's really up to whoever creates it. That's why I said it's really a tool for a business. And the business knows that these are for a temporary action. But physically, you can use them 5 years down the line. You're absolutely right. Because those same wallets will still exist. It's only temporary to the business user because they want to do something for customers, etc. But
right. So I understand.
That's
I just was clarifying because some of the use cases I think I and other people might have come into our heads, and I think some of the things you even have listed are like merchandise. So I don't know. You put it on I'm trying to think of the first thing that comes to my head, a book cover or something like that. The concern wouldn't be that it goes bad. It would be that they use that wallet for their own wallet and add Digibyte to it, or that I guess let me rephrase. So the person, you would never know, I guess, when the business or the individual who created those wallets still has access to that key. There's no proof of destruction or anything there, I guess, right? So that's the concern there for the end user.
Yes, that's the concern. So if it's a legitimate business, then the user would have a level of trust with their business, with the legitimate business, that they would not be dicks and, swipe stuff away at earlier than they require. Because normally a business will say, look, it'll be out there for 30 days or 60 days or 3 months. And they made that promise. It's basically contractual, especially if they put in a TOS or a service contract, something to the effect. So if somebody holding a physical product, goes, 30 days in, and then they try to swipe it to their own phone and find that there's nothing there, then they could go complain to the business and say, hey, you said this is going to be, there till 90 days, but I have this physical product and it's gone. And of course, the business would likely provide these Digibyte, and investigate what happened. But it's a business. If it were, Joe Schmo anarchist, I want to bomb, some police department or something like that, and he wants his anarchist buddies with funds, and that's a whole other craziness that we don't want to get into. That's nothing that has to do with us. But obviously,
Bro,
it
gonna
would
get the
be
space
completely
canceled with those
untrusted.
hypotheticals over here. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just completely nuts. Nobody would trust that, right? So that's the thing. We understand that there's a level of trust of the person or business generating the wallets. And that's what you got to get to. If you randomly find one in some gas station bathroom, are you going to trust it? Well, probably not. So,
Well,
you're
you could
gonna
trust it to take you. So you could trust it, though. There would be no theoretical issue with trusting it, taking that Digibyte and sending it to your own wallet
Yeah,
with your own keys, right?
that's right. Just transferring it
So
out.
that was my question next. Like, what are the preventative things that you're doing in case of a hack? If I'm the company and I ended up doing all these wallets, is there a bot that can basically flush them all out? Is that a
Right. So I
possibility?
believe this. So I was gonna. Thanks. That was actually my third question. I was gonna allude to. Is this the CSV is the only correlation between those accounts? So the file of the CSV created would be the only record that attaches and has all those accounts, right? No one account. There's no individual would be able to say, hey, these 1,000 or 10,000 or 50 or 20 accounts are attached to each other. Correct?
absolutely. The
Okay.
CSV is the only record. Now, of course, I've added the ability to do a brain wallet, which I'm trying to dissuade people from using, but some people really, 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 really want it. And I'm like, okay, just make a really long, super hard password or whatever for a brain wallet. So a brain wallet, as you know, you can go to the tool and add to make it simple, you could add a word when you're generating your 5,000 or 1,000 wallets. And that one word is basically the main key. If you later discard your CSV, delete it, whatever, you can go back and using that one word as the brain wallet code, you could regenerate those same 5,000 or 1,000 wallets. Now, it's there. I don't use it, but it's there. I don't suggest people use it.
So what if your employee does that, right? Like, what if you're the boss and then you run the risk, right? Because, like you said, you could put a really long password, but basically anybody could still access those wallets as long as, like, if you forgot to, obviously, like, it's on to the investor and the business, like you said, but essentially, anyone could just redo those wallets and the same funds will be there.
They'll redo the wallets. The funds really depend on what you're using them for. I mean, if you're giving them out to people for redeeming, Digibyte and then using them for as a discount against other products or whatever. I mean, there's lots of ways or use cases for these wallets. But essentially, you can regenerate them with the brain wallet code, I'd call it. But like I said, it's one of those things that you really don't need, but some people still want to, type in their long, their 50-word long password in there and create wallets that they can recreate at a different time, just by memorizing that long 50-word password. Again, if you're using it for business, yeah, don't do that. It's not necessary. Right.
Now, I noticed that you're an Oracle. Is this something that you plan on also doing with DigiDollar when it launches, or is it specific for Digibyte?
I believe once the wallets are created, you can, and correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, you can send DigiDollars to these Digi wallets, or am I right in saying that?
It's an interesting question. How would you initiate a time lock on them, essentially, or just put DigiDollars itself in the wallet? Is that two separate questions, I guess?
Right. So you would still have to create the time locks in your core wallets, and the Digi wallets, the ones that get created in batch, those don't have that ability. You can't time lock things there. You can only send Digibyte, and I believe DigiDollars once once that's operational. Let's remember, those wallets are just the same types of encrypted wallets that all of us have in our core wallets. So as long as you can create these DigiDollars, I'm 99.9% sure that you can send them to these wallets that you create in batch. And from there, well, you can do whatever you want. If they're a sticker, if there's, like I said, you could trade them. It's really up to the business.
Hey, someone asked in the comments what you do for a living. It's up to you if you want to share that.
It's a loaded question, bro. Don't answer.
I think there's a lot of people who know what I do already. I sell dietary supplements online. My chief science officer is in California, and he and I go through basically a lot of published science, pull out the gems, create formulations, and then manufacture them and sell them. That's what we do. This Digibyte thing is close to my heart, but obviously it's a side project for me that I really, really like. I hope that answers that.
And I guess since thank you for joining the DigiDollar awareness space. A lot of the guys here, we tend to be a little bit on the newer side. Obviously, we have our more tech savvy. But for those that aren't, I was going to ask if you want to, I guess, just do a quick re-elaboration of DGB Click, and I guess maybe a historical background as to what got you into Digibyte. I don't know if you've been in Digibyte from the outside and watching in, but it's almost like something the community likes to hear, and people that listen back to it. It helps us gauge, like you said, right? Because we're in a trustless community, right? It's up to everybody to make that decision, and it's really great to see the way that we have been developing this year, and you coming along with this. This is great. Digibyte Daily, in one of the older space, had mentioned, an idea that would require, creating a large sum of wallets at a time. And for you to come, it's almost like, everything is coming right at the perfect timing. So yeah, if you don't mind just giving us, a little background on, I guess, your love for Digibyte and why you decided for this to be your side project and just stuff like that.
Wow, there's an interview. I said that this, I will try and sum it up real fast.
It pretty much, this is how the space ends up being, right? It's all
Really?
of us. It's for the community, dude. So it's really all of us trying to understand where we can input ourselves. And I'm not trying to speak for anybody because anybody could get the mic here and ask, right, dude? But essentially, yeah, it's for all of us to really understand what's going on, gauge, and right, it's good to learn, dude. Like there's a Digibyte, Patriots is one of a community member. He uploads these spaces and they go on YouTube. So, it's just good for the community in general and for our new onboarders.
Got it. All right. So, been in this space for a little while. Like I said, Digibyte's been pretty much a side project for me. A while back when I was just getting my feet into crypto, I decided to consider adding wallets to my products just so that the older generation, when I mean older, I'm, going 35 plus, 50-year-olds, etc., can look at QR codes on the products and, if they happen to wonder what they are, there's a little link and it explains a little bit about crypto. So it's more of an educational challenge that I had that I just wanted to attach to the products. Now, having said that, at the time I looked at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple others, and the fees were atrocious back then. And for some, they still are. However, the Digibyte crypto, obviously, when it solved the Dogecoin issue where their blockchain was being stuck, and Jared came around, and I believe it was Jared, helped them get their blockchain up and running. I realized that, this community was one of the best around. They were out there creating something powerful, always developing different things. Dandelion was interesting to cover up your IPs. They fixed Dogecoin, and Dogecoin eventually went to the moon. Well, a lot of people got into that, but they didn't realize who actually fixed their blockchain. From a technical standpoint, I saw Digibyte Blockchain and the developers doing some great work. So I kind of latched on and said, you know what? These fees are so minute. I might as well, start adding wallets, Digibyte wallets to the products, because at the very least, I won't piss off any of my customers because the fees will be so minute if they decide to, move things around Digibyte from one bottle to another to their phone. And, if they lose some, we're always looking at how to deal with getting those back. But it's generally within our products and their Digibyte wallet. Anyway, when I started doing that, I had a real difficult time creating mass amounts of wallets at a time. That was an issue. So at that time, I think I've asked some developers to try and do it, and I even put down $5,000 for a developer to do it for me. Nobody came around, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing it. And of course, I started printing tons of wallets on the products. So I think doing so created something with our customers, and a lot of people started asking about crypto and how do you do this and what do I do that and where do I buy it. And at that point, Coinbase was the way to buy, and then you get either Bitcoin or Litecoin, then you transfer it to Digibyte, or you use Qcoin, or a couple others. Anyway, I'm going off on a rant now. The main
Can I
issue
ask
was
if you?
tools. So the tools that I'm, providing today are pretty much the same tools I've been using for the business to provide wallets to people on the products and doing some specials, redeeming, things of that nature. Anyway, sorry. You were asking a question?
Did you have any programming background before? Where did you start learning the like technicals of that, or was it just jump in the water and you learn as you go, sort of like? Because I'm a tech guy, but I don't, I feel like it's sort of intimidating to just start grabbing the code and throwing it together and trying to figure it out. So I'm really intimidated by that, like the stuff you and Johnny do. Like, to me, it just seems so foreign, but maybe it's easier it's like everything, you kind of start grasping it once you just get into it, so to speak. What does that look like?
No, Johnny is amazing. Jared is amazing. I don't consider myself a programmer anymore. I used to. 20 years ago, I believe I was working at a few different companies that you might have heard of. One of them was Merck Pharmaceuticals. One of them was Microsoft. One of them was, it was a Wall Street company that did a lot of trades. So way back when, I was pretty decent. But then I got out of the programming business. I still kicked it around. And right now, I'm looking back, and a lot of things have changed. Languages changed slightly, this and that. But me personally, I understand the overall architecture of some of these, and I could follow along. But I don't dig into it as much as I used to, because I have a business to run. So and it's usually I prefer to pay somebody to do it for me. But when it comes to like blockchain technology, things of that nature, there's still not a lot of people out there that can easily do it for you, even if you pay them. So, people like Johnny and Jared, they are rare and they are freaking awesome. I mean, Digiscope is absolutely amazing. I don't think I could do that. That's,
Yeah.
he's worked
That's
on
a
it quite a
serious
bit.
flex.
Good Lord. Yeah. So, So I just made some tools that work for my business, out of necessity, but no way am I close to Johnny or Jared. There's just absolutely no way I could. No. I hope that helps.
It does. Thanks, man. And welcome.
Yeah, and feel free to rant. That's pretty much how a lot of us here are. We just, I think Digibyte Daily, or I don't know who it was that said, like, everybody in Digibyte pretty much has some sort of ADHD. Just, but you do sound like you fit right in. So thank you for what you've created. I have a question for you from the audience. Let me get it to you, bro. For Anthony, can you describe from the consumer's perspective what happens when they scan QR code from one of the promotional wallets, like in a gas station bathroom? What happens on their phone?
No, so right now they're only on our products. If I decide to do it on a gas station or things of that nature, I don't know if we should add a third QR code with basically an instruction manual on how to use it, because a lot of people simply don't understand what those QR codes are for. I mean, you and I and everybody on this call, we know how they work. They're super easy for us, but somebody who's just starting to learn about crypto, there is some education that they need to understand and go through. So, right now, like I said, from our products, when a customer looks at it, we've seen on the support line that they're like, how do I use this crypto? How do I send you Bitcoin? How do I do this? So we do a little bit of education, and we have to provide on-ramps that we don't have, obviously, like like certain places that are easy, certain apps where you can buy Bitcoin or crypto. So what we try and do is we try and introduce them to that. And there was a website where we used to have basically 50% off all our products, but the only requirement was that they used crypto. And we did get a few large orders from them. So there are people over 50 that definitely know how to use the crypto. And it's basically an education. So I think right now the way things are, most people have heard of Bitcoin, and they understand that people use these wallets on their phones. They understand what Venmo is and Cash App and all these other things. And I guess we're just trying to see how we can have them convert some of their Bitcoin to Digibyte in a really simple manner. And I think that's the education we need to start having with people. How to do it in a cheap, simple manner so that they can create stable coins. Because in the end, people like the US dollar. They understand it. They've lived with it all their lives. People outside of the country understand what the US dollar is. So stable coins, a lot of people are understanding what that is too. So I think there's an educational process that we need to continue to do to get people to go from using a credit card, bank account, getting on an on-ramp to crypto, and leading them toward getting Digibyte for their own stable coin without the need for, KYC. Because the on-ramps require KYC. Many of them do, unless you're in another country. And many people, I believe, really don't like when people know what they're spending their money on. So when you tell them, hey, there is Monero or there is Digibyte, which you could have in a different wallet outside of these on-ramps, and you could own that wallet, and nobody could ever take this from you. It clicks. And I think that's the type of education we need to provide people. I think DigiDollar is going to help us level up Digibyte, especially for all these people who understand and buy things in US dollars, and they don't want to understand Satoshis because there's just too many numbers in their head. So if we dumb it down, I'm going to say it, if we dumb it down to US dollars, people will understand the core of the Digibyte and DigiDollar non-KYC type of crypto that anybody can use without it ever being frozen like the other stable coins. So anyway, there's my little rant for today.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, man. Truly appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for, I guess helping us understand everything that's going on and the new protocol that you bring to us. This feels good, dude. This is awesome. For anybody out there in the audience, if you guys have any questions, and again, Anthony, didn't mean to put you in an interview situation, but that's pretty much how it goes here sometimes. And I appreciate, you coming to the space and joining us and helping us understand that, dude. So thank you, right? Because it's up to anybody. All it takes is one. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for, allowing us to bombard you with questions.
Sure, not a problem. My main goal here is to create tools for businesses so that they can use Digibyte, whether it's for tickets or, redeemable coupons or whatnots. Yeah, I'll be adding a few more tools to the DGB Click website for those.
Sorry, you guys have to address the DMs. I'm not kicking anybody out. And I know sometimes, I guess, I don't know why X does it, but I swear it's not me, you guys. Well, to not keep too much dead air, today is the DD Creators Bounty. For those of you guys that participated, thank you guys for participating. You guys in the community obviously go in there and, help us escape this silo, help us get the message out there. We are working on, moving this over to Digiscope. So I'm thinking maybe, towards the end of this month. So for those of you guys that were asking how long it's going to run, you can ensure it's going to be running at least another 4 weeks, I would say, before we fully merge on to Digiscope. So yeah, I'd like to congratulate, my bad, dude. Let me look you up. Sec of Web3. He was, last week's, winner. Congratulations on winning. Great video, dude. And if anybody has any questions on them, feel free to chime in. If anybody, wants to ask any questions or anything of DD creators, feel free to, send me a DM, comment, or join the space. Also, you guys don't forget, RC45 just launched, and I'm pretty sure that's the new AI hardened. Anthony, if you want to speak on that, since you are an Oracle, right? And we get a little more information on that. I have some, but again, like you guys have been, my Knicks won this weekend. It's been crazy in New York. There's a Knicks one, Puerto Rican parade, a World Cup. It's insane over here. It's well, like you say, there's literal anarchy happening in my city.
Yes. Well, I only have as much information as Jared puts out there, and he's stated that he has used the Mythos level AI to pretty much kick the crap out of the Digibyte code and the oracles, so that they're pretty much hardened. And for those not understanding, the Mythos level AI is the Claude Mythos AI that's been now considered a national security risk and taken offline because it's so damn smart. So yeah, Jared was using that from the get-go, and that's just freaking amazing. I believe he made substantial changes to make Digibyte and the oracles much better software, and I believe hardened them. So yeah, I'm amazed. It's great. I'm glad he did that.
One of the things I've been avoiding to address the community is a couple of the things going on in the background, right? Like, which I think I'm in the clear to, ask, but what are the community's thoughts on, like we mentioned off ramping earlier, but the biggest question, right? And for the whales that are, really concerned on how they move their money and stuff like that is what would be the quickest and most direct way to start utilizing your digidollar outside, right? Like, and I'm not talking about in the real world. I'm talking about within the crypto sphere, like, right? Like what would be, um, people's personal preference. Like, would they want an off ramp straight to fiat? Are we looking more into, exchanges? Would that be the ideal situation, for the community? Or are we more so on, should we build the DeFi protocol and establish our own, well, we're already in our own ethos, but pretty much establish those transactions within and then, would make obviously, exchange listing a lot friendlier. But I do need to gauge that. And I don't think it's just myself or, a lot of the, community members behind the scenes that are, doing a lot of super important, I guess I could say legal legislative stuff, right? Like, and no, I'm not talking about Scrotum Head. I'm talking about real Digibyte. Um, you know, uh, damn, I lost my train of thought, dude. The fuck?
I think after the Clarity Act gets passed and Arizona finally signs their bill, which
Oh yeah,
allows
my bad, dude.
Bitcoin. Yeah,
My bad, dude. But what my point was, like, yeah, where would people want to use their digidollars immediately outside, right? Like that was like the goal of my question. And as far as SB 1649, right, in Arizona, I can safely say it's dead.
it's because of the governor.
Well, dude, I can't. I don't want to bring the attention over here. But it's dead. I really can't bring the attention over here.
That's fine. That's fine. So let's see what happens after the Clarity Act, because I know it gets all political and people, red, blue, blue, red team, whatever. People just start getting a little nuts. So, but if the Clarity Act does pass, which apparently there is a push for it, and it's likely going to happen. I don't think it will happen by July 4th, but it's probably going to happen in July. Just my current estimate. Then I think there's a good possibility that stable coins of all types are going to come very interesting prospects for businesses worldwide, or at least in the United States, which then trickle down to the rest of the world. And we'll see from that. If we have a digidollar stablecoin set for that, good Lord, who do you think the rest of the world is going to be looking at if we don't care about KYC? I'll just leave it at that. Guys, I apologize. I got to leave, but good talking to everybody. I appreciate it. And probably talk to you guys next time. Okay.
Thanks for all you do, man. Thanks
Dude,
for all you
thank
do
you.
for Digibyte.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for joining us today. That was awesome, dude. I definitely no one expected you, so thank you for joining. That was a lot today. And for everybody that'll be able to listen back to it, thanks again, man.
No problem. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Enjoy your Sunday, brother.
I'm excited for Digibyte, man. That was great. Thanks for hosting this.
Yeah, dude. I mean, as we can all see, the spaces are getting, progressively better and better, newer faces. People feel a lot more comfortable. I mean, this is what we've been wanting, right? And we are truly different this time around, dude. I mean, people being willing to just keep building this way, man, is not something that other communities have, specifically right now. And like I always tell you guys, like I do go around and vet and go through the like Trencher podcasts and stuff, and a lot of these, like, you know, which a lot of the developers out there that do like shitty projects and stuff like that, their like mentality is changing to want to come back to fundamentals. And, that's a good thing for the crypto sphere in general. And the fact that this is something that's actively happening and now they're considering our blockchain to establish, the new build, build on something that is truly self custody, truly decentralized, no VC, right? The community is the company, us, the sheer driven community members that is the Digibyte community, and constantly, the resilience is just forefront for us, man. And that's something that is really awesome, dude. So yeah, man, I'd like to thank all you guys, dude. Everybody that's here, spending their Sunday. I did start, today's, space a lot earlier, only because, I just got home. I have to go out to eat a little bit later. And the streets out here have been crazy, bro. You guys have no idea what it's like to be where I'm at right now. It's insane, bro. All these people are crazy, but whatever. It is what it is. But,
I
yeah.
definitely do. It was hell.
Oh,
New York
yeah.
it was hell on earth.
Bro, it took me 5 hours to get to the crib today, from uptown.
Yeah, it
It was
took me
insane.
from Midtown 3 hours. Saw 6 fights. It was crazy, man.
Yo, it's bugged
It's
out.
too
You
much.
seen the bus? You seen the buses? They burned like 4 buses.
For why? This is too much, man. Like this is unnecessary, and I feel like the
Nah.
cops made it worse. So
The cops definitely, it's bad, dude. You know what it is too? It's for you guys that are listening, it's a lot of not New Yorkers. Like, it's a lot of not New Yorkers, bro. It's a lot of outside people that are not from New York. Like, it really isn't. Like, I'm telling you right now, these people do not live here, bro.
this one guy I seen, he from Delaware. He was just like, "Listen, this is the first and last time I'll ever come to New York." I was like, "Man, I don't blame you. This is crazy. It was insane. It was like, it's not the Knicks. It's not the parade. I feel like it was a lot of World Cup, like you said, a lot of internationals."
Yeah, I didn't want to say it like that, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, we know. It really isn't. A lot of them aren't even citizens. I'm not even going to hold you, but whatever, dude. I mean, we'll get a little bit. It is crazy though. Imagine being a foreigner and like a genuine foreigner that's just coming here to vacation, watch the World Cup, and you land in the heart of Manhattan in the middle of the Knicks winning a fucking NBA championship after 53 years, bro. I mean,
It was crazy. I agree, man. It was crazy, and it's nothing. I don't have anything against foreigners or nothing like that, but it was just kind of too crazy. It's too insane, and I can't. I'm not blaming a certain people or nothing like that, but it was too much. The police, they shouldn't have did it like that, but it is what it is. I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad my people got home safe and stuff like that. The people that were working at bars and things of that nature.
facts, bro. Facts. That shit is insane, especially with the Puerto Rican Day Parade, bro. Oh my god, bro, this shit was insane out here, bro. I'm actually genuinely worried for the championship parade, bro. I'm 100% gonna be there, but I am genuinely worried of what that shit's gonna look like. Cause it's not gonna be just New Yorkers, bro. I have a feeling that the whole tri-state area, all the way through the metropolitan area, up by like Boston area and them, all of them are coming, bro. This shit's about to look insane, dude. I might have to leave the city.
It's a bit much. Thanks again for holding the space, though. This was great. Truly, truly appreciated it. That was awesome. Anthony's awesome. I appreciate everything that he's doing, Johnny, Digibyte Daily, everybody in the community, man. It's like, it's coming together. It's been a long road, but we getting there step by step. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, I told you guys, I'm always gonna, I got Sundays and Tuesdays, so I know I wasn't able to do Friday, but I am doing a couple things in the background, so I was super heavy trying to get those done for a certain timeline, which I think you guys should be able to see something new tomorrow, maybe tomorrow or Tuesday. I gotta pull the P. Well, I don't pull the PR, but Dennis does, and I already like loaded him with a shit ton of stuff. So Dennis, if you're out there listening, dude, thank you so much for all the patience that you have for me, bro. Thank you, and thank you again, dude. But
Real quick, I just had a question. So we're at RC 45, right? And they said this may be the last thing before mainnet. So we should be getting the 9.26 core wallet soon.
I could safely say yes. But for any better questions, obviously the getter. Let me grab the links for the getter so you guys can get in there. I think right now, right, would be, if anything, the most crucial time to get on the getter and ask any type of questions for, this RC45. If it's going to be the last one, it's basically the most perfected one. For anybody out there that wants to strategize now on, their logs for DigiDollar. But you guys, let me get the getter link and throw it up on the space. Give me a sec.
Yeah. And so that I know, like that was such a pivotal move that Jared did with the Claude. Like I saw him post, and then literally 72 hours later they took it down, and it's like, damn. And he said that he was like, I remember on a post he said, for anybody who's a coder, or anybody's thinking about doing code but not using Claude and using AI, they should learn how to code themselves, because you got to audit Claude. And it's so funny that that definitely came to fruition. So yeah, that's a visionary right there, big time. I applaud him. I applaud Digibyte. DigiDollar coming soon.
Yeah, and like, who else was doing that, dude? We're the only ones doing that, dude. Jared's a beast, bro. I'm telling you, dude. Jared's a fucking dog, bro. Shouts out to Jared, bro.
And Johnny, and Digibyte Daily, and Ransel, and Neil, everybody out there, man. The soul community is popping, man. Like, I truly appreciate being down with you guys, man, and just having these spaces and talking candidly. It seems like there's no malice. We love everybody. Yeah, you could be from anywhere, and it's just like, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood. It's all that. We, come on. Like, let's go.
That's a fact, dude. All these guys putting overtime, it really speaks to what we believe, dude, right? And it's the prophecy coming fruition, dude. Like everybody, and as we see, dude. Well, I don't know. Anthony said he's been around a lot, but again, you guys forgive me. I see new faces here and there. So, but yeah, it's really good to, have this connection, and this bond it's a big difference for crypto out there, bro. Like, this doesn't exist, you guys. Like, it really doesn't. It's an amazing thing to see. And I feel like, give it another 2 weeks, these spaces will be at, we're averaging almost 100 people, and, the listen back is like 200 to 300. So I would say, in a month from now, I wouldn't be surprised if we're at like 1,000, bro. So again, you guys feel free to think about it. Like, I'm not that techie, right? But like, to have been here with Green, and, Green hosting the spaces, and now we're here, we'll all look back, and we'll look back and like, damn, we were talking about Digibyte and the DigiDollar before it even launched. We were all trying testnet. We were, a lot of new community members came in with they're not even understanding just the Digibyte core wallet and like, look where we're at. And then like, even for you, CJ, like, right, like, you're way more comfortable now, dude. Your knowledge has expanded, greatly. And that's awesome, dude. Like, and feeling the sense of comfort to even, we're always learning. So that's what grows these spaces. The fact that every time that I come here, dude, I'm always learning something new. There's always something new that I get out of these spaces, which just thrives in motivation. And you guys, as you guys know, I'm doing whatever, Digidollar Awareness does in the background, and you guys get to see it here and there, but it's not to the stature of, our developers and what they've implemented and what we have here, dude. It's a gem. It's a literal gem, dude. And we speak volumes too when we stay busy like this, dude. All we appear to a bare, very low morale market right now, right? Like, we're none of that. We're just champion on, giving everybody thanks, patting everybody in the back and trying to move forward, dude. It's an awesome thing, dude.
Truly
Ideas
grassroots.
Ideas, development, everything's just chugging along. I don't know if you guys, like I said, some of you guys jump in some of these other spaces. I'm not too vocal about them vocal with them when I'm in there, but there's a lot of these other spaces, and that when the devs jump in, and like, there's a lot of sort of just a general, where do we go from here? What are we doing? Sort of like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any sort of goals, they're just lost. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what their goals are. I don't know. I gotta find out what the piece of paper was. Ethereum had this little, looked like they were hypothesizing, trying to do something similar, but that's my rudimentary brain trying to understand the technical paper. But it looked like they were trying to figure out some sort of collateralization issue, but because they're basing it off just one ETH without over collateralization, the math didn't seem to quite work out without there being some sort of liquidation event, basically. So it seems like they're having quite a few issues. And some of the things that they suggested, I wouldn't have understood had I not been involved with Digibyte and what oracles are and how oracles work and the purpose of them, which is part of the reason I got involved in Digibyte, so that I can get my hands on an actual blockchain and understand the physical chains and how things work a lot better, because you can't really you can't get your hands on some of these other chains as easily, or they're cost prohibitive essentially to do so.
Hey, you guys, I got Johnny on there real quick. I know he mentioned that he's going to step out for a little quick second. I think it was Anthony, or was it you, Digibyte Daily? I had a couple more questions for him. If you guys want to go ahead and shoot it. Thanks, Johnny.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm back, guys. You can
I
hear me,
don't think
hopefully.
I don't think I had anything. If somebody else did, I think I'm good for now.
I just had a question. When is that wallet coming out so we can download it and upload it?
Well, the beta is absolutely already there on Digiscope. So I think we went through 3 different versions today, just in trying to nail down, essentially connectivity logic, to make sure that everything's firing in the right order. I tested out some stuck transactions to see if it would self-heal. I've created and tried to make some double spins off network to see how it would respond, and then had to make some tweaks. All the different configurations with Dandelion and Tor, and then all of them working together at the same time. So it's really just testing through a whole bunch of different scenarios. The good news is, in all of that, the seed has never been compromised and nothing has ever been unrecoverable or anything like that. So it is a standard BIP84, so a standard compliant wallet. It has the ability to restore from pretty much any derivation. One of the things I didn't mention was I spent a long time working on an auto restore pathway, which essentially means it would auto detect what derivation path you were using, and be able to restore from whatever key you have, so long as it was some Digibyte key, which is pretty cool. It took a long time. So that, and my hope in that was the original mobile users that perhaps have that key written down somewhere and have been unable to access it, would have a means and method to restore access to their wallets again. So, yeah, and I did want to point out to what Anthony said, and I didn't have an opportunity to, I didn't happen to respond, but I would say I'm definitely not a doomer either. I think ultimately we still have to build tools while we can to create that permissionless ecosystem. The time to think about privacy is when you can, not when you need it. So you have to build the tools that help us separate while you still can, because if you're waiting to build them after you need them, it makes it much more difficult. So hopefully, to Anthony's point, we never get to that place. I think ultimately, that's still on us to decide. From what I've seen, though, they'll continue to shut down in pathways for people to sort of exit that system. Hopefully, that's all they'll do, and they won't necessarily try to go out and begin to prosecute and persecute individuals that are truly just trying to protect individual freedoms. So,
Thank you so much, man. That was great. Thank you. Truly inspirational.
but yeah, what other questions about the wallet or about the site? I'd say every time I say I'm 80% done, another 50% reveals itself that I wasn't necessarily thinking of when I began. So it continues to just be iterative, and these development cycles get shorter and shorter, but the roadmap seems to get longer. So I think ultimately that's been the biggest challenge for me, as I try to tackle some pretty ambitious ideas and incorporate and really highlight what the blockchain can do. In all of this, I hope everybody's kind of seen the evolution of Enigma as a tool to help others understand the blockchain, understand how to use it, understand the protocol, why it exists and why it's important, but then also be a 24/7 sort of support agent, which is what I'm building into it as well, so that if you're having trouble with the core wallet, if you're having trouble with the mobile wallet, if there's some sort of question about integration, and you're an institution that wants to adopt this technology, that there is a 24/7 highly intelligent support structure that can customize responses to your unique environment, because it has a full context of everything within the Digibyte ecosystem, as well as a full context of how the protocol works, and can be able to answer and custom tailor a solution for you at any given time. Because one of the biggest roadblocks for, and I know AJ, you've seen this, one of the biggest roadblocks for continually expanding the ecosystem into institutions is that support system, to be able to answer those questions, to be able to quickly provide statistics, network analysis, all that sort of stuff, in a way that is meaningful, and pushes forward adoption. So if you can solve for some of that stuff in an automated perspective, then yeah, you're going to be ahead of the game and ahead of your competition, so to speak.
Nice. Are we able, like, once it gets from beta? Are we able to download it from like a iPhone or something like that? Forgive me for asking.
No, it's a great question. That's always the intention. I think I wasn't even going to try to port it until I felt like I was happy with the wallet. At which point I'll move it across. But when I'm happy with the wallet, and I can say, hey, like this outperforms any at least single coin wallet from feature and function and reliability and security and privacy. When I reach that point, which I say I know that to be true, which is a pretty high bar for me because I'm a paranoid individual, then yeah, I'll port it across.
I'm with it. Let's go.
Yeah, that paranoia drives me a little bit. Just because, in my life, my personal brand is everything, right? So everyone who knows me in my real world, trusts me implicitly because they've worked with me over the course of, some cases decades. They understand, the fruit of my family. They understand, the unit that we've built with God's help. It allows me to operate in a little different way because there's a lot of trust, that is given to me. In this environment, it's different, right? So I have to, I have to make sure that, what I'm doing, is, I guess it can withstand any sort of attack. And I know and can feel good that, I've done due diligence in every aspect. And it's a pretty high bar. So, right now it's going to stay beta for a while because I know, it doesn't do what I want when I want it, 100% of the time.
I'll wait. I'll trust you. I trust the community. I'll wait.
I mean, you can use it right now. There's no danger in using it, but, it just doesn't function the way I'd like. And I don't want to put it out until it showcases the speed and reliability of the network.
Now, Johnny, when it does come out, I know we've talked about it, but when it does come out, your plans are for it to both support DigiDollar and Digibyte, or will that be something that you would probably do an update later?
No, my plan is for it to do both at the same time. So, a part of like the original DNA was to prepare for DigiDollar. So, right now, for example, it doesn't, even, generate like pay to Taproot, receive addresses. It can send to pay to Taproot and it can recognize, pay to Taproot. But it right now like doesn't hold inscriptions and that sort of thing separately, which it will need to be able to recognize the DigiDollar UTXO, and parse that data to represent the dollars, right? So, there's work to do, but it's already built, kind of built into the DNA to be able to do it.
And I guess for the people that are trying out there, would you recommend for them to download this on maybe like a burner Android instead of their own personal phone? I mean, just for safety wise, or would you say, they can give it a shot in their phone and then I guess delete it after the fact? What would you recommend best?
Yeah, I mean, you can put it on your personal phone. There's some battery draw issues. I'm not trying to optimize battery performance. I've optimized connectivity, for the most part. So some of the background, processes that run is to keep it current, to the tip of the chain, so that it's responsive, when you open the wallet. But aside from that, there's no real risk, in that wallet in terms of compromising other aspects. And you can even, I'll suggest, Google Play, if you turn off your blocking, will allow you to install it on your phone. It'll ask you if you want to scan the app for malicious software. I encourage people to do that. It won't find any sort of malicious insertions or anything like that. It's been through a number of automated audits already as well, just to make sure that the seed, is secure and the seed is wiped when deleted and all that good stuff. So, Yeah, no, it's safe to put on your phone. I can say that without any sort of hesitation. But it is a little battery intensive at the moment. So, because it is truly, when open, now if it's not been opened, it's not battery intensive, but if it's open, then you're moving into another window and you launch another app and it's running in the background. That's what I mean. It's battery intensive, but, if it's closed, of course, it's not updating until you open it. So, aside from that, yeah, there's no danger in having it on your phone.
And again, you would say to keep a small amount of Digibyte, right? You wouldn't tell
Yeah.
anybody. What would be a small amount?
I mean, I've probably generated at this point, like 50 different seeds, along with, and I have no more than about a total of 1,000 Digibyte across all of them right now. Just because I'm constantly moving in and out of these wallets and testing different scenarios between them and between the mobile wallets and the core wallet and Coinami and back and forth. And eventually that will become a multi-wallet, which means it can hold more than one set of keys inside that wallet. So you'll be able to, my intention is to be able to have a separate wallet that can hold Digibyte, but maybe is just your DigiDollar wallet. So it might have a separate set of keys. There's a couple of reasons for it, but yeah. So my intention is you could be able to actually have 10 wallets within the mobile wallet, and you can switch back and forth between those. It's just another layer of privacy for an individual. Like, for example, me, I have a very public address that I've posted many times, for people to, send donations to, or, Digibyte Anon or whatever when we were messaging back and forth. And I use that when I'm moving to, public websites, or I'm interacting with DigiNexum, or I'm interacting with Digiscope and funding my tip wallet. I use that. Of course, I have other wallets that I won't interact with public entities from. So everybody has to have that sort of mindset, because everything that we do is very transparent, right? So everything we do has a real action on the blockchain, and can be tracked around. And some people, and I've stopped cautioning because you guys have gotten better at it, but some people have posted, their withdrawals and the amount of Digibyte with timestamps. And I'm like, bro, don't do that, because somebody that's paying attention can then begin to build out your entire wallet. So just don't do that, right? So, anyhow, the ability to have multiple wallets in one application is for purposes of many wallets for different uses. That's kind of self-custody in a nutshell too, right? So I like to describe self-custody to people as a spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, you have security, but not much utility. On the other end of the spectrum, you have utility, but not as much security. So ultimately, if we're exiting and working in that parallel system in which we're operating in native coins, and we're paying for things in native coin, you have to operate somewhere within that spectrum. So obviously, you're not going to keep your savings all on the utility ends with less security. You're gonna operate probably at multiple levels at any given time. So my intention with the mobile wallet would be to give maximum utility while not compromising too much security, right? So, and that's where all the privacy features I was working on to be able to ship with it kind of comes in, because, that day that I believe Digibyte is recognized for the utility that it has, there could be significant value tied to it as well, even if it's never recognized in a dollars and cents somewhere. But the idea that there's actual value in having these tokens and coins, so to speak. there's value there. There is for me anyways. Like I secure 1,000 Digibyte just like I'd secure 1,000,000 Digibyte.
I heard you saying about posting withdrawals, right? I'm pretty guilty of posting buys just to motivate people, when the price falls, and myself as well. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's why you'll see me do it over and over again.
Great.
Just remember, if the price increases to a certain point, you're going to have to go back and delete every single one of those, just like I am, because people are going to be like, bro, I know exactly how much you got. I'm checking the receipts right here. I got screenshots and everything. So like at
Where's
a
it
certain
at?
point, like you might want to consider that. Like when it's at 0.002, like fair game, but like we hit a couple pennies or more, like all that shit's going to disappear real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
What's funny about that is
I,
that I don't post the amount. I always just post that buy. So I'm like, yeah, I only bought 0.12.
I think Digibyte Patriot has a question, you guys, real quick.
Yeah, guys, sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to know, basically a question for Johnny, just regards to like tracking on the blockchain. Like, what would you recommend for that to sort of like make it a little bit harder, basically, is what I'm saying. Would you advocate for example, breaking it down into loads of different wallets and then putting it through a load of or basically I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that, like how people, especially governments, will go around sort of trying to work out what we hold.
Yeah. That's a great question. And what I would tell you is obfuscation. I've learned a lot just by watching the exchanges work. I described in partial detail how that network runs globally and how they recycle the coins to clean history. And you can operate in a similar fashion on a smaller scale as an individual. And I've actually already created some tools on GitHub. They're private at the moment, but I've actually created some tools that are going to assist with some of that as well. And it's not a coin join feature. It's not any sort of tornado wallet or anything like that. It is strictly that fracture, move, consolidate, fracture, move back, sort of peel chains, and just from an automated transaction script, essentially, that would allow you to kind of create your own. Well, you wouldn't be the lowest hanging fruit anymore, and the goal here is always to not be the lowest hanging fruit. Is what I would tell people, because the lowest hanging fruit always gets picked. So you don't want to be that. And so we'll provide tools that can help understand that. And you can actually start to research and look at some of how all that works there on Digiscope already. When you look at the Transaction Explorer, there's actually some instructional tools in terms of like reading current UTXO transactions and peel chains and all that sort of stuff too. But yeah, there'll be tools that'll be open source. Anyone can use. It'll work directly with Core Wallet.
I
Amazing,
think one
Johnny.
thing that I've done. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Digibyte Patriot. My bad, dude.
I was just saying thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question though, because ultimately it's safer that way too, right? And the other thing I would tell you guys, because there's been a lot of quantum FUD. I guess we're not in a quantum FUD narrative at the moment, but it'll come back in a couple of weeks, because it always does, right? So like the legacy addresses, the early addresses, like the pay to public key, will be the lowest hanging fruit, right? They'll be even lower hanging if at any point those addresses actually process the send out of those out of those wallets, because in doing so they expose their public key, and it would allow for an attack surface, essentially, for a quantum theoretical quantum enabled computer, right? To be able to discern the private key from the public key exposure. As we move forward, we're always rotating out of the lowest hanging fruit. We'll change our signature algorithms along the way, and we've done so many times. We've kind of followed Bitcoin's lead, which we're on, 0.26 presently, in terms of that signature, structure, which we're using like Schnorr signatures inside, that Oracle price attestation process. And we'll, I'm sure, with Tirad's lead, have, additional signature changes down the line that will continually keep us from being the lowest hanging fruit, right? And so I say all that to say that even with address management, you're trying to always be the lowest hanging fruit, right? So whether it's being backtracked by some government entity or whatever the case might be, there's always going to be some poor sucker who directly removed his funds from an exchange into an address and just left it sitting there, thinking that was the secure method to do so, which is easily, of course, backtracked. But we just got to constantly be evolving. Unfortunately, that's the nature of technology, right? So I'm excited for what we're doing right now. It is cutting edge, without a doubt. And which means there's sometimes, it's a little clunky sometimes, right? Because 80% of it sounds really good. 20% of it's super clunky, but the only way to make progress is to just keep moving forward. And I think we've seen that with the DigiDollar, development. I think we've ran into some snags, but of course we were going to always, right? But have been truly impressed with the speed at which, we've dealt with those, and the way Jared has led us through that, and continually even, driving innovation within the development cycle, and being nimble enough to change course, when he saw something that wasn't going to work as he intended.
So one last question, Johnny. Like right now, for example, would you recommend it's a lot smarter to break it down, and keep it in a lot smaller balances, just for basically right now?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think the balances matter. I think he's more referring to, sorry to interrupt, but I think he's more referring to what's your concern, I think, would be a better way of approaching that question. Like, what concern are you looking to alleviate or address with multiple wallets or versus one large wallet, or what are you looking to possibly avoid? If you can say that without being too blunt about it.
Well, basically, I'm just basically thinking along the lines of them tracking me, and mainly the exchanges passing that information on to the government. Because, like, say I don't hold many Digibyte, but for example, if I was to get close to 1 million or something, and it was to go to $5 or something, they're gonna be on me. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm just like you just saying, Johnny. I'm just a little bit paranoid about it. That's all it is.
I'm not sure if you were on earlier so there's a couple different ways you can do it. One of the easiest ways that I would recommend that doesn't get too into the nitty gritty and it's fairly straightforward is start mining if you're not already, and make sure you're mining to a wallet that is not taking funds from the exchange. That way it's going to be all fresh coins that you're getting directly in that wallet. It has no attachment to anyone, anything whatsoever. Same thing though, keep in mind, if you then transfer that to your personal wallet on an exchange, you've then created that event, so to speak, that they could say there's a transaction history. It doesn't necessarily show that it's you or that you have an affiliation with that person. You could obviously take a bunch and then split it between wallets, but then that initial wallet is still trackable as getting those funds. And then I assume that with the right tools and know-how, you can still say, okay, well, they sent it here, and then that wallet sent it to 10 other wallets. So he just split it into 10 wallets, right? I mean, then you can say you gave it away, or you lost all your silver in a boating accident, or whatever, you want to choose to say at that point. But, there's some musical chairs I don't want to get into the nitty gritty and say something I shouldn't, but there's some musical chairs, if you will, you can do. But as far as things that are safe and not, I think a cold wallet, or not a node with a wallet getting, mining, credits directly to it would be the way to go for that. Would be what I would recommend for a beginner that's looking at something like that. That's something you don't hear a lot discussed about version coins and blank coins. That's, sorry, whoever just mentioned it, kind of watching what the exchanges do, why they do it, that kind of put me down that path of like, and that also keeps you away from, I don't hear too much about this in Digibyte. It used to be a big thing with Bitcoin. If your coin got found to have been involved in some sort of shady transaction, then the exchanges would pull it back. So it was very important to, so that's what put me sort of down the path on why are these exchanges only wanting to buy from miners and not, there's something else, you know what I mean? There's always more to it, not just cost and that. There's other reasons as well. Question?
Yeah, go ahead, CJ. You have your hand up. I think Johnny also wanted to chime in.
Yeah, so I was just, so that I'm clear, because now you got my wheels turning. You're saying that, moving your exchange moving your Digibyte from an exchange to a cold wallet is a safe bet, or isn't the safest? You saying you should mine, you should get
You
to mine.
hold it. No, it's safe in that you're going to hold your keys. There's not a concern there. The concern would be that there would be
That it's traceable. That's really the
traceable
concern.
from
Yeah.
that
Correct.
amount to there. They might want to tax you for it. They might know you have that certain amount. Not that they could necessarily take it from you. That's not really a concern, at least for me. It's more of just, hey, you have that. We want to tax that. We don't want you to have it. Where's it at sort of situation.
Gotcha, but it's not that they could take it from you, because you guys
No.
probably already know from the community, I store in a cold wallet until I get my computer and download my node, and then so I was just kind of paranoid, like what? Okay,
Yeah. No, you're good. It's really just attempting to break the chain of ownership, right? So, all records, and you have to assume that, everything you've ever interacted with from an exchange perspective, can end up in anyone's hands, quite frankly. Which is why KYC was such a bad idea, because it protected nobody. It didn't stop criminals. And then we saw all the data leaks, that then tied, people to addresses, and within Bitcoin. That happened several times. And funny enough, that's, can be found in the Genesis block, where there's a data hack at Target allowing, all these people's names and their Visa cards to be tied together. And Jared at the time was like, this is what we have to fight back against. You know what I mean? Which was kind of funny, because KYC did that, for all the exchange users. So, that data stays tied together is all, that gentleman was stating there. And the easiest way to have virgin coin is to mine, right? Because that coin is set up properly, and you're kind of hiding your IPs. And when you generate that address, you don't interact with other, personal addresses tied to you in any way, can remain, virgin coin, not associated to any one individual.
I gotta stop myself. I'm gonna say it. Don't say it. Say it. Don't say it. Okay. So, how do I say it? Okay. So, so the so the big players are buying coins directly from miners. For Bitcoin, obviously that would be expensive for us, but there are large mining groups. I haven't heard of them selling to people, but I assume that option might be on the table. I'm not endorsing that, suggesting that, but if you needed a large supply, there might be certain mining groups that would be willing to do a surplus sell order, and that would be a large order that wouldn't limit you to mining a small amount from mining and the chance of winning blocks per se, or putting money into heavy equipment and doing that way. It's possibly an option there, but as we discussed here, like I said, I don't know if the miners do that. I assume some do, at least to recoup some initial equipment cost would make sense. But once the DigiDollar comes out, that might stop altogether. So if that's something you're looking at, obviously people might get bombarded and somebody's going to yell at me for suggesting that. I can't help myself. It's an idea for anybody. Go hit up your miners and ask them for Digibyte.
You're good. These are one of the plays that I mentioned earlier in the spaces. I don't know if you guys remember where I was like, I don't think how many people really understand the miner play that's about to shock our community, really. I'm sorry, Johnny, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, man. I was going to say it is a little different on our ecosystem versus others, unfortunately. So, and I'm not gonna dive into all the details, but we are unfortunately heavily mined by one sort of consortium of miners, and that consortium exclusively sells to Binance.
But anybody can mine, right? It's just about buying I guess the device to mine, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you can still participate, but in terms of getting a significant portion of the emissions, that's not a thing. Not going to happen. But anybody can go and mine on SHA-256. Not particularly as easy on script in terms of like your block chances, but if you can get some old AutoCrypt equipment, you can mine at a loss. If you can find some old Skyne equipment, you can mine at a loss. If you can find some old Qubit equipment, all of which are out of production for 5-6 years now, you can mine at a loss, but you're free to do so. The people who control what's left of that legacy equipment, they sell it all to Binance.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been, but maybe Johnny, you can input, but I've been definitely in the beginning spaces. I would champion everybody to get a bid axe. Like you said, you're not going to pressure too much demanding, but I think it's probably the smartest way if you're going to go into it, right? Like if I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
Cause like I mine with a L7
cool.
and an S19 and that setup, and then with Dave actually hooked me up to make them look like with the AC Infinity and the filter stuff. Like the full investment is like about $7,500 for two miners that get you about 110 terahash. So it's about, I would say close to 1,000 Digibyte every day. Yeah, close to 1,000 Digibyte every day. But again, it runs a lot of electric, and initial setup is like $7,500.
Yeah, I'm going to do the math on that at 0.0024 or whatever we're at. I'm at the math that one out in my head. I get the BitXs. I'd highly recommend that though, especially for beginners. They're super easy to set up, super easy to run. I didn't know the Binance deal. I know we've kind of skirted around that. I'd love to go into like a deep conversation about that because I'm kind of learning some things I didn't know. I'm kind of curious. We don't have to discuss this. This is just me talking out of my head that someone doesn't have to answer, but I'm kind of curious in my head on why that consortium of miners, if they're not working for or affiliated with them directly, what would be their motivation to sell to them as opposed to somebody who would potentially decide to offer a certain percentage premium over, said price.
Yeah, it's all one cartel is what you need to understand. It's not as though they're separate entities mining for separate. I mean, I guess I would tell you it's not monetized incentivization. It is strategic alliances.
Oh yeah, man, Johnny's just confirming what I've been thinking myself. And so can I just ask really quickly, like, what are your thoughts on the future of mining and what do you think will happen moving forward to solve that issue? And also, is that going to be an issue in regards to the miners on Odo, for example, standing in the way of something like that happening? And what are your thoughts around that?
I mean, the cool thing is, as far as I can tell, we're still in full control of our core protocol, without any sort of, there could be disagreements within the core protocol in terms of how we should continue to move forward. But in terms of, malicious, ossification, like what we've seen with Bitcoin, where you have paid actors getting into core development and becoming compromised to the true core intentions of Satoshi. We don't have any of that presently. So we are still in control of core protocol. Now the miners can signal that that they don't want to run the latest version of core, right? If it's something that is not necessarily that they agree with, right? But if it's a matter of swapping out algorithms or deprecating one algorithm and moving it to something like Jared had mentioned and hypothesized once, where we're essentially running our own AI interference compute essentially as one of the algorithms, then all we'd have to do is essentially convince enough of the community to switch over to this new protocol essentially, and we would fork the chain essentially in that sort of scenario. I don't think it's a conversation we have to worry about, right now or even into 2030. But it is definitely something long term that we have to discuss, because when we get to 2030 and beyond, the mining emissions, as we know, we're algorithmically reducing them, 1% a month here. So the mining emissions at that point does become a real security concern if we haven't addressed it beyond. So there is no tail emissions with Digibyte. So at that point, the transaction fees, which are minimal, would need to fund the mining. And so if we don't have something in place, then perhaps definitely the energy spent is not worth the emissions. So yeah, there's a lot of considerations. I would say we're in no danger at the moment in any way, shape, or form, but that conversation does need to happen after we fully integrate DigiDollar, see how the market reacts to that, and beyond. So I think that would be the next sort of logical conversation for us to truly dive into.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll just give a quick example here, though. Like, AutoCrypt is theoretically wonderful, just as an example. Theoretically. The real problem with AutoCrypt is, although there was never, and it was always intended to be ASIC resistant, and I've actually worked with an old F2 miner here and worked on it and had to understand, how it rotates every 10 days, and how you make that miner, essentially navigate to the next epoch, and the software that entails, all that sort of stuff. The real problem was, it was dominated on pretty much day one by one entity. And that has continued until this day. And so, although theoretically AutoCrypt is wonderful, in practical application, there was an insider, and we've kind of skirted around talking about it for quite some time. But if you look at the emissions of the AutoCrypt blocks, which you can do, you can just go look at the blocks and you look at the emissions and where they're all headed. It's very clear that it's been dominated by one particular consortium of individuals. So you start to question how it came to be inside our chain. But yeah, we'll have to have a real conversation so that we don't end up with another AutoCrypt type moment when and if we do decide to move differently. But that's, like I said, a conversation for far down the road, not something to worry with today. DigiDollar's exciting, game-changing. I think it's potentially something that truly can drive awareness and adoption. So I don't want to shift focus at all. Just giving a little bit of insight as to, long-term things to think through.
Now, would you say, with that being said, right? I mean, it's still something that's going to linger on our minds. For us to, as a community, wouldn't it be beneficial for always encourage everybody to mine maybe with a bid axe out there to,
Oh yeah, 100%.
when that comes down, right? Like it would just be easier to deal with in the long run.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. So having a knowledgeable group of folks that are mining on whatever algorithm they can absolutely helps, without a doubt.
The BitX community is really big into Digibyte. I'm not sure if you guys are into the small mining rigs, personal mining rigs, but a lot of those individuals with those BitX, those 601, those 602s, the OctXs, the smaller devices, they run DGB. Especially, even if it's just a test, sometimes it's like a 30, 60-day test because, you want to make sure your miner's working before you let it, sit trying to get Bitcoin for 6 years and not get anything. And then I think some people decide to just leave it on Digibyte because it seems like, obviously, even though the money, the monetary amount is small, there's still that, endorphin rush, dopamine rush of I hit a block, and that's exciting. So I think that keeps people in. Yeah, I mean, Digibyte and Bitcoin are pretty much what I really see people mining on those. So I mean, we're out there in the small mining rig. There's some potential for more eyes and ears over there. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Viewership from that arena, if you will, getting them involved a little bit more, as opposed to just mining. I think a lot of those miners would be interested in some of the things we're discussing here, and not just firing up a device per se and letting it sit and get a couple blocks a month or every couple months.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely would love to set up, maybe a mining pool or something like that to come on the space and, help us educate that subject a lot better. And yeah, dude, those people are hitting blocks in those bid axes. I only found out because I always, go on YouTube and just put Digibyte and just try to see what's up to date. I'll put the filters for like, monthly or weekly, every 7 day and shit like that. And yeah, dude, it's a lot of people have been hitting on that. And I think, they're like $400. I think they're, right. Like you're not, it's just a rush, right? Yeah. It's like you get to become a miner and if you hit a block, it's not a lot, but you still hit a block. But all right, you guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. If you guys have any question real quick or any you guys want to shoot anything, I have to head uptown and go eat. Everybody pray for me. These people are psychopaths. I'm not suicidal. Send Digibyte smoke signals if you don't hear from me. Nah, you guys, I think I'll be straight. But yeah, you guys, if anybody wants to chime in real quick, give your last, whatever. This has been awesome today, man. It's really awesome to see the way that we're growing, bro. It's truly organic and we are becoming 100% signal and Digibyte Daily. If you do have any, connections with mining pools or even buddies that do have like a bit of axe that are feel free that are interested in Digibyte, right? It'd be great to have here and just gauge different perspectives. Cause I do think the mining play is, I've always been thinking about it and I think that's going to be a thing no matter what. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, there's been so much crazy stuff going on. There's a gentleman, I believe, who was working on, and I saw some stuff about this, but there's just been so much stuff coming out, and just trying to keep the Oracle upgraded, and I guess I'll give a little tease here. I'm working on starting up a pool as well. So doing some testing. Gonna have a pool. Nothing crazy. More options are better. Something to fall back on if somebody else's mining pool goes, that sort of thing. So just more options. And since I'm going to have an Oracle up all the time, it's just going to make sense as well. And oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Crazy space tonight. Like I wrote down so many things, so many ideas. If you're listening to space and didn't get like 150,000 ideas on like things you can do, it's crazy. One of the best spaces that since I've been in. So, yeah, tons of information, tons of stuff to look into, some more testing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's why sometimes I try to not keep as much dead air, but it's usually me just like spaced out on like I have a notepad and I'll write down as much things as I can. Even though I go back and listen to it, but at the moment, right, you just kind of like, it's not like a glazed pause. You're more like just in tune with the conversation and you're just like grasping everything and also like, all right, well, these guys are building this now. Where can I do out of all the other 1,000 things that I'm trying to do? Where can I implement this? So it is awesome, dude. But yeah, man, thank you for joining the space. Again, you guys that are listening that did chime in, thank you so much for, deciding that on your Sunday, the DigiDollar awareness space is where you wanted to hang out. I did do it a little earlier today, and I think it feels yeah, it's up to you guys. You guys let me know whether you want to do it a little earlier or later. I know that Digibyte Patriot is on another time zone, so it's like super late. So, but yeah, you guys again. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I think we're gonna call it a night. But yeah.
I'm going to tease the other one I saw. I just remembered it. Adamantine OS, and I believe it was a Digibyte wallet, but it looked like it had quite a bit of like other things included in it. And it was one of those things for someone new to it. It was sort of information overload. So I was hoping that we could get them in here, like the gentleman today, and get sort of a recap and overall view and a couple use case scenarios. And to see what he's about and what the thing's about. So I'll try to see if I can reach out to him and get him on one of our spaces or do a space of my own and invite him. So we'll look forward to that as well. Give a little tease about that.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude. Well, Then on that note, everybody, well, as you all know, we have a shit ton of stuff to look forward to, and hopefully a new space coming up. You guys have a good night. God bless everybody, and see you guys on Tuesday.